Alex, that was a good start.
Ken Stopkotty, a former National Girls High School Swimming Coach of the Year, says for decades USA Swimming ignored what he says was obvious. Some coaches were having sexual relationships with their underage athletes.
They've turned a blind eye to it. You know, it's kind of a taboo subject, something that, you know, it's kind of their dirty little secret.
Just last week, USA Swimming's board of directors approved a 7-step plan to combat sexual abuse. But 3 families have pending lawsuits against the organization and say those steps should have been taken decades ago. One of those is the family of Julia, who was molested by the 60-year-old Andy King when she was 14.
Well, hindsight's always 20/20, but I'm not sure what more we could have done.
Chuck Wilgus is the executive director of USA Swimming.
Stories like this, Andy King, others, get all the headlines. The reality is that 99.99% of the member swim coaches of USA Swimming are among the most tested, certified, educated coaches in all of youth sports.
Ready? Yep.
Stopkotty made the point publicly a year ago that the sport needed better screening and education about sexual abuse, but was told by USA Swimming attorneys to stop speaking to the media. What was your reaction to them?
I was actually kind of shocked and angry about it, and I'm thinking as a parent myself, and that, you know, this is terrible behavior.
We should have pushed harder to make sure that we did more to protect our athletes.
Mike Saltstein was a member of USA Swimming's board of directors for 11 years, until 2006. He says some of the new policies just announced have been on the table for years, but were never finalized. He says a task force proposed a comprehensive abuse policy in 2003, but the motion to adopt it was withdrawn.
Most of the comments came back to either this isn't really needed, you're making something where it doesn't need to be, or we really don't want to have this as how our sport is known.
Saltstein says the one measure approved in 2004 that was enacted was a criminal background check for coaches that took effect in 2006. Andy King had no criminal record and easily passed that test. He received this letter in December of 2008 saying his background has been thoroughly reviewed and meets the qualification standards set by USA Swimming. He was later convicted of 20 counts of molestation dating back more than 30 years. When you look at a case like Andy King, who dropped the ball?
Well, it's hard to point a finger at a victim, but victims have got to report these crimes. And we didn't hear of Andy King until April of 2009.
How do you know there aren't more Andy Kings out there?
Well, sadly, there probably are.
Here's Dina Dierdorf.
Dina Dierdorf-Schmidt was a gold medalist in the 1972 Olympic Games. In March, she held a press conference at the request of Julia's family and talked about her own history as a sexual abuse victim.
I was molested by my coach repeatedly from the age of 11 and continuing for 4 years. This has proved to be an unpopular subject and widely dismissed by those in high positions in U.S. Swimming.
She didn't name the coach in her press conference, but Dierdorf-Schmidt says more than 40 years later, he is still affiliated with USA Swimming. She says when she tried to pass his name along to the organization years ago, she was told she couldn't file a complaint because she was not an active member. Chuck Wilgus says he had not been aware of her complaint. After her press conference, you didn't reach out?
No, I did not.
Why not call her and say, what is this? Who is the coach? What can we do?
Well, I wish she would file a complaint, but
she gave a press conference. I mean, that's a pretty public, complaint, if you want to call it that. It might not have been through official channels. Mm-hmm. Why do you have to wait for a piece of paper to initiate some sort of investigation?
Well, I would like for her to name a name, and that ideally, she should name a name and she should go to the police. If she will name a name to us, we'll go to the police.
But you haven't called her and asked her.
I have not called her and asked her.
Should you have?
In retrospect, I guess the answer to that question would probably be yes. But if I were to call somebody every time I heard a rumor,
Well, that's not a rumor. That's an Olympic champion giving a press conference saying very specifically that she was not only abused.
But a rumor about a name.
Yes, but I'm saying that does not seem like a sign to somebody that the organization has become more proactive. What does it say to you?
Sounds like I should call her up and talk to her.
Since our interview, Wilgus sent Deardorff Schmidt a letter, which she described as too little, too late. But Wilgus also defends USA Swimming, saying that since 2000, 36 coaches have received lifetime bans for sexual abuse.
Anywhere where there are adults and kids, you're going to have people like Andy King. They find their way in, and we're never going to catch all of them, but we've got to keep trying.
But Ken Stopcotty says there needs to be a greater sense of urgency.
Visualize yourself being great.
These parents are trusting us with their children, but they're trusting us to keep them safe and make them better people. You know, and I feel like we're missing the boat on that.